2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachak. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim out here pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability given to them by Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Lord willing, fall upon all your houses. This is Brother Quana Wath coming back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Lord will, it is edifying. Lord will, it is straight to the point. But I was doing, basically, watching some videos, man, some shorts and stuff like that, man. I came across this video, ultimately stated that, that there are, major, big name insurance companies that are ultimately withdrawing, from California. So I decided to ultimately do my own research on it, and it pulled up, as it says right here, it says California insurance market rattled by withdrawal of major companies. Now, the two major companies, which I'm not going to read this whole article, but the two major companies is ultimately Allstate and State Farm, right? Two big names, man. They're ultimately withdrawing, from California. And again, that rental market, the insurance market, out in California, man. And really, we've seen this, we've seen this before, which I'm going to ultimately have another article, which, I'm going to pull up, Lord will, kind of goes in line with this, but as it says right here, it says Los Angeles, right? Two insurance industry giants, right? Which we know, again, is State Farm as well as Allstate, right? It says have pulled back from California's home insurance marketplace, saying that increasing wildfire risk and soaring construction costs have prompted them to stop writing new policies in the nation's most populous state, right? So again, it's because of, increase, in fires that have been happening in California, right? Which again, the last few years, there have been, fires that have been happening really all over the world. There's currently, a shit ton of fires, right, that are happening, right now, man. Big fires, man. Nothing small, but nonetheless, I think it was 2020 or 2019, somewhere around that time, we had seen that 1 million acre fire that took place in, I think it was California. It might have been less than 1 million or 500,000 or something like that. But I know it was an extremely large fire that was going on there, man. Right. And there's been little fires here and there since then. Right. It says State Farm announced last week it should stop accepting applications for all business and personal lines of property and casualty insurance, citing inflation, a challenging reinsurance market, and rapidly growing catastrophe exposure. Right, the decision did not impact personal auto insurance. Right, it says we take seriously our responsibility to manage risk, State Farm said. It says it's necessary to take these actions now to improve the company's financial strength. Right, Allstate, another insurance powerhouse, announced in November it would pause new homeowners, condo, and commercial insurance policies in California to protect current customers. Right, so they're just completely hey, if you had a good policy, man, it's probably the best policy that you've had or been able to find, right, to be able to fit your budget. They're basically saying, no, we're not going to renew your policy, right, because of certain risks, right? You might not have ever had a fire, right, but and you might be in California, right? You might be in the area, right, where a fire might be heading, or, again, you probably have never experienced a fire. Well, because of that, they're not going to allow you to basically reinstate your policy, man, right? Which means you're fucked, right? If something does happen, right, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to have that insurance, right? You're going to be solely and 100% reliable for all the things that ultimately take place, right? It might not be your fault, right? Somebody could come and set a fire, set that fire, right? And now you're not covered, right? Because again, your policy was, it hasn't been reinstated or renewed or updated, right, so to speak, man. Right, it says California's unsettled market aligns with trends across the country in which companies are boosting rates, limiting coverage, or pulling out completely from regions susceptible to wildfires and other natural disasters in the era of climate change. Right, and we understand that Esau Edom, right, is he has his Agenda 2030. right? Where they're calling it a climate change policy, and so on and so forth, right? Which again, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. We understand why he's doing all this, right? We understand why certain situations, right, which we're going to get into another article, right, which is part of these situations. We understand why these situations happen, right? Because Esau Edom has an agenda, right? And he's ultimately, doing things such as having these companies pull out. He might be creating these fires like we had seen over in Maui. He might be creating these fires, and then, making it to where people can't ultimately, get any kind of help or anything like that, basically forcing the people to move to certain, different areas. So that way, again, Esau can implement his 15-minute cities, right? And continue to, control really just the narrative all the way around, right? Which, again, we're going to get into the article. It goes right into that, man. It says Florida and Louisiana have struggled to keep healthy insurance markets following extensive damage from hurricanes, right? Premiums are rising in Colorado amid wildfire threats, and an Oregon effort to map wildfire risk was rejected last year because of fears it would cause premiums to skyrocket, right? So I'm not going to get into this article itself. You can ultimately go and look it up, abcnews.go.com, right? As it says at the top. But I want to move on to the next article, because just as we see, these, and that was in June, right? That was in June 5th, right? When you go back to the article, it was in June 5th, right? This is in July, right? As you read right here, July the 28th, right? It says major insurance, and this is on Hawaii News Now. It says major insurance carrier to withdraw from state, leaving policyholders in limbo. Right. And it says right here, Honolulu is the third most expensive city in the nation, according to new analysts. Right. So this is dealing with Hawaii, Honolulu, Maui, so on and so forth. Right. So just as we've seen, right, recently, we had seen these companies withdrawing from California. Previous to that, right, about 7 days prior to that, right, we had seen these companies, a major, rental insurance company over in Maui over in, Hawaii, as it stated, Honolulu, as well as Maui, right, ultimately withdraw themselves, man, It says right here, Honolulu, it says a major home insurance company in Hawaii announced Thursday it will be departing from the state's insurance market, right? It says Universal Property and Casualty, or UPC, says it will no longer offer homeowners condominium and renters insurance in Hawaii, right? It says the carrier will withdraw from the market over a 13-month period from the last policies. It says with the last policies being effective August 31st, 2024, right? It says non-renewal will begin with policies that have anniversary dates on or after September 1st, 2023. So really, right, this last Friday, right, was, September 1st, right? So really at that point, moving forward, right, you're not able to renew any kind of policy, right? If your policy expires on, this date or just after that date, you're not able to renew, right? And we have to understand that there was a fire that just happened, right? And it's come out that Esau Edom, right, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, was using those DEWs, right, direct energy weapons, right, over there in Maui, right? Everybody that had blue on or that was covered in blue, right, didn't get hit, right, didn't get destroyed, right, which is no such thing as coincidence, right? We understand what was going on. All the information is coming out, right? So it was a man-made fire that had taken place. And what's been going on is you got these, the mayor, right, the sheriffs ultimately talking about, how they're able to, or how they're trying to basically, accommodate that land to be able to build up their smart cities, man. Right. So it's all about Esau Edom and his agenda being able to push forward this 15-minute city, right? Push people into certain areas, right? Because the locals over there, they're not receiving no money from the government. They're not receiving no, calls about, hey, trying to get, their houses rebuilt, this, that, and the third. Then no one's contacting them over there, man. Right. So who knows, right? Their policies, right? Their policies could have, very well ended or be ending soon. Right. So they're not able to renew their policy, and they might not be able to, get that money for that, man. Right. Because why? These companies are withdrawing, right, from these areas that are, quote unquote, fire risks, man, which, again, we understand why these things are happening. Right. It says at least 1,500 insurance policies have been affected. Right. That's 1,500 people, man. That's a lot of people that are affected, when it comes to their homes not having those policies or not being protected, right? So when something does happen, if fire does happen, and it ultimately destroys their home, hey, guess what? They're not going to be, reimbursed for that fire, right? Having an insurance policy helps you to be able to get that fixed without having to, spend all that money out your pocket. Well, now these people have to spend all that money out their pocket, man, right? And that's going to make them, having to spend all that money, that's going to make them poor. They lost a home, right? There was a woman, right? A video of a woman, that was out there. She said that, she don't have no money. All the money to pay her rent was in her house. So she literally she's down and out 100%, man. And this is what Esau Edom wants, right? He wants the people to be solely and 100% reliant on him, and what he's ultimately trying to do, man, right? It says at least 1,500 insurance policies have been affected, and some homeowners have already started receiving non-renewal policies, right? It says the state said homeowner policies underwritten by UPC are being non-renewed statewide, with the greatest concentration of policyholders on Hawaii Island. Right, it says the Hawaii Insurance Division encourages homeowners to talk to their agent to identify insurance coverages options in their area. Right, and it goes on and on. Basically, they're actually, I'll read this next little paragraph, and you can read the rest. Right, it says if homeowners are unable to obtain homeowners or dwelling fire coverage from a private insurance company, the state said that they may qualify for coverage. Yada yada yada. So again, it's about fire. Right, it's about these fires that are ultimately going on, or reason why these insurance companies are ultimately withdrawing, man. Which again, hey, this same thing, right? They withdrew from from Hawaii, right, just before the fire. Hey, well, guess what, man? Hey, something very well could happen in California as well. Really, it can happen, really anywhere, man. Right? Esau Edom is using his direct energy weapons, right? And causing these fires, right? Because we understand that Esau Edom, right, has something called a climate lockdown that's about to take place, right? Even Klaus Schwab's daughter came out and talked about it. The next lockdown is going to be a climate lockdown. It's going to be a permanent lockdown, man. So Esau's on the move, man. Esau's on the move. Just prepare, for his next moves, man. But one thing, hey, man, that comforts us, right? Understanding that Esau Edom is moving, right? Knowing that the Lord is not going to allow this damn devil to fully, right, establish his enterprise, man. Right? The Lord is ultimately going to cut this damn devil, right? Cut this damn devil down before he's fully able to establish, his NWO, right? Where we understand he's trying to push everybody into these cities, right? So that way he can have control over what you do, right? Pursuing the 2 Thessalonians, right? We'll bring it out. The 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4, it says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And this is why everything's becoming digital, right? And that he's ultimately creating these smart cities and pushing people into these smart cities, because he will have, full control over everything that you do, man, right? He'll be able to, control whether you're able to get in and out of your house. He'll be able to control the temperature in your house. He'll be able to control, where you go, right? That's why he's creating these 15-minute cities and really trying to put everything that you need within a 15-minute drive of where you live, man. So that way he's like, oh, you don't need to go outside of that. And if you ultimately get, try to go outside of that, you're going to need permission, right? And a good reason to ultimately go outside of that, man. Outside of that 15-minute, right? To be able to travel or this, that, and the third, man. Right? Esau Edom wants to be the Most High. He wants to control every aspect, how much you breathe, right? How, what you think about. And this is why, we've seen things, over there in China where, they were putting basically headbands, right? Electronic headbands on students, right? And controlling, whether they were paying attention or not, man. This is what's going on, right? This is not far-fetched, to think that this is ultimately going to come to America, man. Right? We're already starting to see those man-made fires by those direct energy weapons happen over there in Maui, right? And it very well could hear soon, right? We could hear something about, that happening in California, right? With these insurance policies withdrawing, right? They withdrew, right? Just about a month before, it happened in Maui. Right, they withdrew, and then guess what? Right after a month later, it happened, man. So it's not too far-fetched to think that this is going to take place here soon, man. Right, which again, all these situations, right, we're dealing with these, train derailments, these chemical, spills and so on and so forth. That's all, a part of Esau Edom's, climate agenda, right? To push people into these 15-minute cities so that way he can remain, in control, man, right? But again, the Lord is not going to allow him to fully establish his NWO. Let's grab this. And we'll just close out. I didn't want to make this too long. I just want to ultimately keep the people informed through the Spirit, man. That Esau Edom is on the move, man. Right? Certain things are taking place that aren't in the mainstream media, right? That are allowing, or ultimately aiding, in this agenda that he's got, right? Job 5 and verse 12, it says, he disappointed, right, the devices of the crafty, so that their hand cannot perform the enterprise, man. And this is what's going to happen, right? We understand that Esau Edom is moving, right? But we also know that the Lord is not going to allow him to establish his NWO, because the Lord Yahweh, and through his only beloved begotten son, Yahweh Shai, has their own, new world order that they're trying to establish, man. So Esau Edom, you can do whatever you want, man. Continue to use your dues and, continue to, pull these, these insurance companies, right, from, these certain areas, but hey, nonetheless, man, hey, the Lord's got you in a trick bag, man, right? You believe that you're going to establish your NWO, but in reality, Yahweh Bashim Shah has his own NWO, and you're not a part of it, man, So, hey, just, hey, for those that, truly believe, right, those that are ultimately watching and, and praying, right, hey, continue to watch, continue to pray, continue to go hard, right, continue to serve Yahweh Bashim Shah to the best of your ability, man, right, because Esau's moving, man. Hey, but guess what? Yahweh Bashim Shah, that's, is in control, right, at all times, man. So I just wanted to, point that out, man. Right, again, keep watching, man. The scriptures say, be sober and watch under prayer, right? 1 Peter 4 and 7, right? The end of all things is at hand. Be therefore sober and watch under prayer, man. So continue to watch, continue to pray, and we're almost out of here, man. So with that, Lord will was edifying, Lord will was straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash, double honor to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.